From Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation, it's time to take 10 minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein.
Welcome to our discussion of Ava Rabbah, the blessing of the Shema. Right before the Shema, in the morning and the evening, we have a blessing that speaks about the love of God for the Jewish people and our love of Torah and how we want to learn more Torah and that God chooses us with love. It's a beautiful blessing. The Gemara suggests in Brachos 11b that this bracha may be a bracha which is sort of a birchas Torah. In the morning can serve as the blessings we say prior to the study of Torah. Shema and the Vayam Shema, Vayomer, the three paragraphs of Shema are from the Torah. Before reciting Torah, we want to bless God and thank God for the Torah. In many ways, it's a type of a birchas Torah. But you'll notice we have two versions. The morning is a longer blessing, and for Ashkenazim it's called Ava Rabbah. And the evening is a shorter blessing. It's called, for everyone, it's called Avas Olam. In the evening, it's just a statement that we will always study your Torah. It's the essence of our lives. In the morning, a lot of different things, prayers, and I'm hoping to come to the land of Israel. And there's a lot of different things, but also a prayer that we will be able to learn more and study and do and keep all the words of the Torah. So, however, you'll notice if you go to a Sephardic shul, in the morning they say Avas Olam, and the evening they also say Avas Olam. Now, everyone agrees that the morning is a long paragraph and the evening is a short paragraph. But the opening of the paragraph in the morning, you'll notice a difference. If you're in a Sephardic congregation, the opening words are the same as the evening words, Avas Olam, a eternal love. And if you go to Ashkenazic shul, it's Ava Rabbah, a great love. Now, while it may not seem like a big difference, it is debated in the Talmud. So the Talmud, the way we have it, says that Shmuel says Ava Rabbah, and Belazar also said Ava Rabbah, and we learn the same thing in an outside source in a Braita. Tanya Mihachi, you don't say Avas Olam, Ava Rabbah. However, the Rabbanan, the rabbis, the majority, they say Avas Olam. So what do we do? A lot of rabbis said Ava Rabbah, of an early source, Ava Rabbah, but the rabbis say, the majority, is Avas Olam. They even bring a pasuk that Avas Olam Avtich, that God loved us in eternal love, as it says in Jeremiah 31. So from this Gemara, it's hard to know which way to go. Do we say, we follow the Braita, all these different rabbis, and say Ava Rabbah? Do we follow the rabbis, the rabbis who supposedly say Avas Olam? Then we have the Rosh, Rabbeinu Asher. He summarizes the Gemara, and he has a different text. His text reads like this. He says, Shmuel said Ava Rabbah, but the rabbis say it's Avas Olam, and we learn the same thing in a brisa. If it's Avas, you should not say Ava Rabbah, you should say Avas Olam. So in the other version, there's a lot more people who say that we should do is Avas Olam. So what should we do? So there's two contradictions. One is there are two versions of the Gemara, and then even within the Gemara, there's the conflict between a lot of rabbis and the rabbis. So comes Tosfos and he says, well, therefore we instituted that in the morning we'll do the Ava Rabbah, in consonance with our version, and in the night we'll do Avas Olam, in consonance with the other version. In fact, this comes from the Gaonim. Tosfos in the 13th century. The Gaonim lived in much earlier, in the 9th, 10th century, and he said the Gaonim the Gaonim said you should keep both versions. If you look here in the Gaonic literature, it says Mar Kohen Tzedek says that you should keep both, and you should do one in the morning, one in the evening. The Seder of Amram going, one of the earliest Sidurim from about the 8th, 9th century, says, and so says Mar Shalom, that's what we do. However, the Avudraham was a Sephardic the commentary on this Siddur, and he said that Rab Shri Gaon and Rav Hai Gaon, from the 10th century, they said that we do not believe that anybody did that. That's not correct. He says, we never heard in Narda, Ava Rabbah, nobody does it. In the yeshiva of Narda, not at night, not in the morning, Elam, Paras, Madai, all the regions of Babylonia, they never heard of such a thing. In Iran, Iraq, Chol Midrash Surah, the other yeshiva called Surah, they don't say Avas Olam, they say Avarabba. So in fact, they only say Avas Olam. So that is the Sephardic view that it should be Avas Olam. The Rambam says that, Avas Olam. And that's the Rif, and that is the Sephardic view. So the question is, what if you're Nusach Sfard? So here, an interesting thing developed. What's Nusach Sfard? Nusach Sfard were Hasidim in the 1600s, 1700s, 1800s, who said, the great Ari, the great mystic, he used a more Sephardic prayer book. So our prayer book has Ashkenazic prayers. Let's move toward the Sephardic prayer book. So what about this? Should we follow the Rosh, our Ashkenazic mentors, or should we follow the Sephardic view? So the Shulchan Aruch says, the Sephardic author of the Shulchan Aruch, the Rabbi Yosef Karo, he says, the second bracha in the morning before the Shema is Avas Olam, like the Sephardim. But the Ramah, the Ashkenazic authority in the Code of Jewish Law, says, no, it's Avarabba. And that's what we do in all of Ashkenaz. That's what we do. Now, the Mishnah Berurah points out, either way, it's still kosher, but what should we do? Now, if there's an Ashkenazic custom, can you go against it? Can you do something else? The Tur, who came before the Shulchan Aruch, he said, and he's the Rosh's son, he says that Rav Alphas, passing like the Rabbanan, that the Sephardim, based on the Rif, say that Avas Olam, and the Gaonim said that one in the morning, one in the evening, and he says that that's what they do in the land of the Ashkenazim. There was another suggestion, and some Hasidic rabbis took this approach as well, and that is that the Manhig, who lived in the 13th century, 14th century in Provence, he said, Ravan Hayarchi, he said, if they want to, you can say, Avas Olam Rabba Avtanu. An eternal great love you loved us. You can say both. Or some Hasidim, and you'll see in some Nusach Sfard Sidurim, and Anshei Sphard, my congregation is a Nusach Sfard congregation, you'll see they have parentheses, that Avarabba, Avas Olam, and the people will say both, because on the one hand you want to be Ashkenazic, because Nusach Sfard people are really Ashkenazic Jews, so we have to follow the Ramah, we have to follow the Rosh, the Tur, the Ashkenazic custom, but we also want to get in this other idea. Now you say, well, is it more mystical? Well, actually, the Zohar says that there are two versions. There are two versions, and the upper world is Avarabba, and the lower world is Avas Olam. So it sounds like the Zohar, the great mystic, who's written in Spain, that they had two versions. So it's interesting that the mystical prayer book would want to have the Avas Olam if the Zohar had two different versions. But I want to add another zinger to this. The first point, in other words, is that since the major Ashkenazic custom is not just a minor detail that, like, there are many differences in the Sephardic and Ashkenazic siddur, so there are many differences in words, not so significant. But this is one which has been debated since the time of the Talmud, through the period of the medieval Rishonim, medieval authorities, and they seem to really take position on this as a custom. So as Ashkenazic Jews, even if we follow the Nusach Sfard Siddur, should we really take on a position which is against Ashkenazic custom? I would suggest not. And furthermore, there may be a general mistake here in this issue. Now, I say this with great caution, because who am I to suggest this? But the Bach, Rabbi Yoel Circus, the 1500s, he said something which he said is wrong, but I think he may be onto something. He says, the debate in the Talmud is not about, should you say that long paragraph we know and love as Avarabba in the morning, or should you say that short paragraph of Avas Olam we say in the evening? No, that's not the debate. The debate is, should we start that long paragraph with the word Avarabba or Avas Olam? Now we open up a whole new possibility. Maybe the Talmud is not having a picky-yoon debate as to what should the first three words be? Oh, it should be this, it should be that. No, they're not having a picky-yoon debate. They're wondering, should we use the evening brief blessing which doesn't really say much. It's not a real Birchas HaTorah. It doesn't have a prayer for fulfilling all the mitzvot and learning all the Torah. Or should we say the morning one, which is more of a Birchas HaTorah, which is we pray Avinu Harachaman, Rachem Aleinu, God, Father, merciful Father, we have mercy on us. Tim Libenu, given our heart to learn and to keep and to follow all the commandments. It's a whole different thing. And that's the question. Should you say the abridged version in the morning? Should you say the long version? Now, if this is correct, what happened? Then come the Sfardim, come the Nusach Sfard, and they say, let's take that morning blessing, which is long, and let's put that little phrase from the evening on the morning blessing. So it becomes an admixture. You have the morning blessing that you're saying, it's long, and then it has the introduction from the evening. It's an admixture. It doesn't belong. The Talmud was debating really what should the blessing be. Should it be the long one or the short one? And what you're doing is you're keeping your long one in the morning, and they're using a few words from the evening one, from the short one. So maybe this is a mistake. So for that second reason, it might not be good to follow the Sephardic custom, because maybe the Ashkenazi custom is preferable, because in the Ashkenazi custom we preserve the Ava Rabbah for the long blessing, Avas Olam for the short blessing, which was, in fact, perhaps the original meaning of the Talmud to begin with. So I'd like to suggest that if you're Nusach Sfard, you should say Ava Rabbah in the morning, Avas Olam in the evening. If you're Sephardic, of course, it's a long-standing tradition. We say just Avas Olam always. And if you're Ashkenazic, then clearly Ava Rabbah in the morning, Avas Olam in the evening. If you want to be a stickler for Nusach Sfard, maybe you could say both. Avas Olam, Ava Rabbah, Avtanu Hashem Elokeinu. You say both. He loved us in eternal love, and He loved us a great love as well. Thank you for joining us here at the Anshei Sphard-Beth Emeth congregation for a discussion of this very important blessing. Join us each week for the discussion of the Parsha, the various holidays. And thanks to Jason Lefkowitz, our producer. Thank you.
This has been 10 Minutes for Torah with Rabbi Joel Finkelstein. To learn more, visit asb.org.